He thought he was fixing his house. Instead, he found an empire. In 1963, a man in a small Turkish village swung a hammer at his basement wall and heard the blow echo back from a hollow place. He looked closer. Plaster cracked, revealing a narrow passage swallowed by darkness. When he stepped inside, his candlelight touched something no human had seen for centuries, a carved tunnel descending into the earth. The air was cold and dry, like the breath of a tomb. Dust floated in the candle's halo. Every sound, the scuff of his steps, the drum of his heartbeat, bounced and came back twice. That tunnel didn't end. It kept going. Down, and down, and down. Room after room, staircase after staircase. The man had stumbled not on a chamber, but into a city. A city large enough to hold up to 20,000 people, plunging as deep as an 18-story building. A city carved entirely underground. He had discovered Derinkuyu, a civilization that built its world beneath the surface of the earth, and then faded from history. The discovery of this city solved a great mystery, but it opened a new one. Not who built it, but what kind of monster? Where were they hiding from? To call this place a city challenges the very meaning of the word. We think of cities as sunlight and noise, of markets, smoke, and open sky. Derinkuyu is the opposite. A metropolis in the negative, carved 85 meters into volcanic tuff. This was no temporary shelter. It was a permanent world. Its creators built not to flee life, but to preserve it. The upper levels formed a hidden surface. Livestock were kept here, goats, sheep, cattle. Their pens ventilated separately so the stench wouldn't choke the families below. Vast chambers stored grain and flour. Stone presses turned olives to oil and grapes to wine. These people didn't just survive off the world, they brought the world with them. Deeper down, the city became human. Homes lined the passages, low-arched rooms, their ceilings black with centuries of soot. Kitchens with grinding stones still in place, long benches for communal meals. Echoes carried so clearly, a mother's call from one floor would be answered by her child 2 levels above. Even the smallest chambers had purpose: storage, schools, and sleeping quarters. Children were born underground, took their first steps on cold stone, and learned to tell time by the guttering of an oil lamp. Their world was measured in footsteps and whispers, their entire universe defined by the reach of candlelight. And at the deepest level, they carved their faith. A vaulted chapel shaped like a cross, large enough to gather hundreds. The walls still bear faint crosses, a faith that learned to root in absolute darkness. But Derinkuyu's brilliance lay not only in its design, but in its lungs. A massive central shaft, 55 meters deep, cut from the surface to the core. 52 secondary vents carried fresh air across all 18 levels. Even today, a whisper near one of them travels like a secret down the spine of the city. Fresh water came from underground aquifers, drawn through wells that never reached the surface, safe from contamination or siege. For waste, they carved drop shafts leading to deeper sealed pits. It was crude, but it worked. The temperature held constant near 13 degrees Celsius year-round. The air never spoiled. The city breathed. They had built not a refuge, but a living machine. And that machine was powered by fear, precision, and time. To understand Derinkuyu's purpose, look at its doors. At every major junction stands a massive circular stone, a perfect disc of volcanic tuff weighing 450 kilograms. They were rolled into grooves from the inside, sealing entire levels in seconds. Imagine the sound. The deep grind of stone sliding home, then silence. No way out, no way in. Each disc has a small central hole, not for peering, but for killing. A spear could be thrust through it into the dark, striking anyone trying to force entry. The tunnels themselves were part of the weapon, barely wide enough for one man, barely tall enough to stand. An invading soldier would have to crouch, shield useless, sword awkward. He would see nothing but shifting shadows, and hear nothing but the breathing of the stone itself. If you entered Derinkuyu as an enemy, you didn't conquer it. You dissolved inside it. Oil lamps burned slowly, staining the ceilings with a permanent shroud of smoke. The air smelled of ash and cold metal. To live here was to live in an eternal dusk, a life measured not by the sun, but by the dying flicker of a flame. For those inside, safety came at a cost. They built their salvation one stone door at a time, knowing that once it closed, it might never open again, even to the voices of their own neighbors left outside. This was not architecture. Psychology turned into geometry, fear given shape, and the first thing that shape demanded was the ability to let the world burn. But who built this, and what chased them underground? No single civilization can claim Derinkuyu. Each generation inherited the darkness, expanded it, and adapted it. Some believe the Hittites, around 1180 BCE, carved the first tunnels as their empire collapsed, perhaps before invaders like the mysterious Sea Peoples. They may have sought a world the enemy couldn't burn. Centuries later came the Phrygians, Iron Age artisans of stone, who deepened and refined the maze. Then came silence, 1,000 years of it. By the 5th century CE, that silence broke. Early Christians, fleeing Roman persecution under emperors like Diocletian, rediscovered Derinkuyu. Here they prayed in secret chapels, their hymns swallowed by the rock. Their faith preached turning the other cheek, but down here, they mastered the killing thrust through a hole in stone. Children learned scripture by lamplight. Their faith was the only flame they dared show the world. When Rome became Byzantium, the threat shifted. From the 7th to the 11th centuries, Arab-Byzantine wars turned Cappadocia into a battlefield. Villagers vanished underground at the first sight of raiders, sealing the great stone doors, listening as the earth trembled above. Then came the Mongols in the 13th century, riding through Anatolia like a storm. The ground above would have vibrated with the thunder of 10,000 hooves, and again, Derinkuyu became a heartbeat hidden beneath the soil. For almost 3 millennia, generation after generation passed their fear down like an inheritance. They learned the same brutal lesson: survival is a calculation. The ones inside the stone live, the ones outside become a lesson. And still, the city endured. Its final use came in 1923, during the Greco-Turkish population exchange. The last Christian families left their homes, sealed the entrances, and walked away. For the first time in 3,000 years, Derinkuyu was empty. Its torches went out. Its silence returned. Until 1963, a hammer struck a wall. The plaster cracked, and the earth exhaled. Archaeologists soon realized what had been found: an entire civilization hidden beneath another, a city engineered with a precision modern builders still admire and barely understand. Only 10% of Derinkuyu is open today. The rest remains sealed, sleeping, as if the builders expect to wake again. Derinkuyu is not a monument to war or conquest. It is a monument to survival, to humanity's oldest instinct, fear, and its greatest talent, creation. But survival has a price. The same stone that protected their bodies, hardened their hearts. The same genius that carved a city from rock also perfected the art of abandonment. Because the deeper we dig, the clearer the reflection becomes. Our genius and our terror are carved from the same stone. Derinkuyu still breathes beneath the fields of Cappadocia, waiting, silent, complete. A 3,000-year-old question buried in rock. What happens when the monsters we run from are the monsters we become?